Shoot! Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be looking at a friction folder from Leading Edge Knife Works. Now, there's going to be a little bit more talking before we look onto this, so I'll try and make this as quick as possible, but I've been a huge fan of the friction folder ever since I started to own knives. In fact, one of my first ever knives was a friction folder. I like them that much that I have 3 Svord Peasant Minis. For me, the friction folder is the perfect, I don't know, here in the UK it's the perfect knife, mainly because, you know, we have to make sure that there's no locking mechanism. So being able to have a knife like a slip joint, but also has something so that it makes it a little bit safer because of this extended tang. I feel that the friction folder is the better, bigger brother, bigger cousin to the slip joint. So I saw Leading Edge Knife Works on Instagram, got in touch with them, and it turns out that I'd known this guy for a while through the EDC Cooperative. So I got in touch, I said, I'm not after a free knife, that's not what I'm here to do, but what I'd love to do is be able to showcase your crafts here on my channel. Guy's a top guy, his name's Ev, got in touch with me and he said, yeah, that'd be brilliant. I don't have any knives that I can send you, however, this is my knife, or at least I'm talking as though I'm Ev, obviously. This isn't my knife. Unfortunately, I will have to return this when I've finished this review. And I'm generally going to miss it. The last 2 weeks I've had this knife in my pocket. For the first week I've had to alternate it with the pillar that I reviewed last week, but this whole last week I've had nothing but this in my pocket. Ev told me to test it. He said use and abuse it, so I have done. I've used it for all of my everyday tasks. I've also used it for some of the other tasks that maybe I would use a different knife, because there's certain knives that I like to keep looking well. So as far as I'm concerned, I've used this above and beyond what I'd usually use one of my main knives, and that I'd probably tend to use a companion knife with instead. So less of me talking, what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around now so we can have a lot more of a closer look at this. While I'm doing that, please feel free, if this is your first time to the channel, to hit that like button. If you're returning, having watched some content before and you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget the bell notification so you'll know as soon as new content comes live, you'll be able to watch that. But for now, let's do this thing. It's a bit of a stutter then, but let's do it anyway. Okay, so as we usually do, I'll go through some of the specifications of this knife. Now, some of these they will just change, mainly because this is a custom knife, and this is part of the conversation that you'll have with Ev and the people at Leading Edge Knife Works about the knife that you'd like to have. Here in the UK, it fits within UK laws, or at least here in England, it's less than a 7.5 centimeter blade. And we'll have a look at some of these, the materials that the scales are made out of, the length of the blade, the geometry of the blade, the grind on the blade. These are all things that will be part and parcel of the conversation that you'll have with Ev to decide how you want your custom knife to be made. I've seen examples where there's no knurling on the back here. If you want that, you could maybe have a shorter tang. Lots of different things. I might have just invented that last one, but hopefully, these are all still possible when you talk to Ev about what you can get from your own knife. He's talked to me about the main objective for Leading Edge Knife Works is to get the knife into your hands and it be the knife that you want, which I think as a philosophy for knife makers, that's really the basic one that all of them should have, and it's great that that's the first thing that he tells me about his idea about making knives. So some of these lengths, some of these specifications are all changeable, mainly because, as I say, this is the knife that you want to have. So in this example, the cutting edge is 54 millimeters, which is just a 1/16 of an inch longer than 2 inches. When the knife is open, it measures 140 millimeters, which is about 5.5 inches. When the knife is closed, not taking into account the tang in millimeters, it is 85 millimeters, or in old money it is 3.25 inches. The width of the so the length of the actual material for the blade itself is 95 millimeters. Again, in old money, that is, oh god, I'm rubbish in inches. 3.75 inches. I should be able to read it from there, but you know, I still struggle. Everyone should just be in millimeters. It's so much easier. Thickness. The thickness of the actual stock itself is 5 millimeters, which in inches is, what's that? That's 3/16 of an inch, is it? I think. Weight wise, it's quite hefty, and do you know what? I actually quite like that. When you've got this in your pocket, you know that it's there, but that's mainly down to the fact that this is you know, it's quite thick steel. It's also good quality steel as well. And the scales, so the scales here are made from briarwood. There is also a spacer in between there, which is G10. You'll also be able to see inside there is also a G10 liner, and then you've got copper up here at the top, so you get that real nice kind of patina to it. I've been carrying this in my pocket. Ev has his own little leather slip that he puts it into, so what you have is where you just get a little bit of abrasiveness from the leather. It wears the side here, so you still get that nice copper look to it, but then in between you get this nice patina that's there. The briarwood is super smooth. It's actually really nice. I've not come across briarwood on a scale before, but it's used perfectly here. And then as a spacer in between each of the two scales, you've then got some more copper, and I think this is a G10 spacer in there as well. It looks like it. As far as the pins for construction is concerned, you have the one pin here which is also used as the pivot. You have a pin here which is used for the lock. So on the inside, if I can get this just right, you can see that is the lock. Probably better to see it here at the back, which fits perfectly into there, and then underneath the blade, just underneath the ricasso here, there is also the locking position there. Now this is a friction folder with no locking mechanism. When we talk about lock, it's just the fact that it stops it from rotating past a certain angle to make sure that it doesn't go all the way back. That then turns it into more of your straight edge razor, which you wouldn't be allowed to carry. But it locks perfectly. There is no touching of this back spacer here. As far as spacing as well, I know this is something that I don't really look at in some of my knife videos, but it's something that I should really start looking at, and it's completely symmetrical all the way down. It is 100% 50-50 on both sides. You might not be able to see that there, but you'll just have to take my word for it that it is absolutely perfect. Now, as I mentioned before, this is my first foray into custom knives. All of the knives that I've bought in the past have all been off-the-shelf knives, like, you know, here's the pillar that I reviewed last week. You know, I've mentioned on umpteen occasions I'm a huge fan of the Svord peasant knives, and I've always wondered what the difference is, what the markup is when you come on to these custom knives, and I get it. I totally get it. What you're paying for, one, is the hand craftsmanship, but you're also paying for the love and the attention that goes into this. That's not to say that the people that work at CRKT, when all of these knives, you know, they don't go through some sort of quality assurance process. But when you get a knife like this, I 100% get this now. Just some extra things. What didn't I talk about? Oh yeah, so we've talked about the scales themselves. Hopefully you'll be able to see, and they put it on here nice and clearly. So this is made from 80 CRV 2 steel. And that's the big step up that you get generally with a custom knife, is the fact that you get a better steel on here. And I've asked Ev, and again the people at Leading Edge Knife Works, why they decided to go for 80 CRV 2 steel, and they quite simply put, you know, it's a great steel. It's a good steel that you can get a great heat treat from. And if you need to go back to it at a later date and sharpen this, you know, it's not a difficult knife to sharpen. Ev at the moment works from his garage at the side of his house. That's where the workshop is. Hopefully that's going to lead into the future as Leading Edge Knife Works grows, that they'll be able to get some of their own facilities, and they'll be able to invest more into actually making these knives, and maybe possibly there'll be an opportunity to have a choice of different steels, and the way in which they heat treat them as well. And I know they're investing into what's it called? Oh, I've forgotten for a second. The oven treat, is it called? I'll put it in a link at the bottom here, but it's the kiln that a lot of knife makers use. But I have to say, when it comes to sharpness, this is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and that's meant in the best way. This thing is sharper than Wonder Woman's sword. It is. I've never come across a knife this sharp. Now I've sharpened my own knives in the past. I've even, you know, come across some very sharp knives. The Luna from Real Steel, when I got that, I was impressed with just how sharp this is. I've sharpened this before he sent it to me, and it is ridiculously sharp. It is unbelievable. Okay, so I'm probably over-gilding the lily here, but I've tested this out on so many different things. I'll roll some videos now about how well it cuts. So when you're cutting paper, it cuts through paper like, again, it is a warm knife through butter. It is ridiculous. You can slice cut with this. You can also push cut with this. The finish on the blade is a perfect mirror finish. It is unbelievable. Cutting through cardboard as well, again, it cuts through cardboard as though the cardboard just isn't there. There are some other things that I've done around the house that I wouldn't normally do with a knife like this. I do it with a companion knife, and it just does those exceptionally well as well. So as far as heat treats and the sharpness that is put onto these blades, it is absolutely ridiculous. And again, that is meant as the biggest compliment that I can give to this knife. I really have put it through the works, and it cuts today as well as it did the day that I received this 2-3 weeks back, and I've done exactly as I was told to use and abuse this knife, and it is ridiculously sharp. So on this side of the knife, you can see that it has the 80 CRV2 steel on there. On the opposite side, it has the Leading Edge Knife Works logo on there as well. Hopefully, as you can see, it's a Warncliffe design. I like this. I'm sure I haven't dreamt this, but I've seen also where it's parallel, so you get more of a sax kind of look to it, but you can also get this as a drop point. You know, that's part of the conversation that you'll have with Leading Edge Knife Works about how exactly you want to have your knife and the geometry of the knife, the grind of the knife. The grind on this at the moment is a completely flat grind, is a high flat grind. As I mentioned before, the spine of the knife has this really nice turned edge to it. You wouldn't be able to strike a Ferricidium rod with this, but you know, I wouldn't use this as one of those style knives. There is a bit of jimping at the back here so that you can hold on to that if you want to get a good purchase on it. The jimping is nice. This is one of my other little favourite features, and I'm totally going to steal this idea to do the same with one of these. There's a bit of brass or copper that's been put into there and then riveted in. I think it's just little touches like that that's been put into this, which for me has helped me to understand what that step up is from an off the shelf or off the a standard knife that you'll get from a manufacturer, and something like this where Leading Edge Knife Works have poured, it sounds tacky and it really does, but it sounds like, you know, this is something that they put all of their pride into. And that's not to say that this company doesn't, but there's a lot more at stake for a knife like this. Word of mouth is a big thing, and I'm probably harping on too much about this knife. I really do, really do love this knife. It's great. The mechanism, everything, it's just super smooth. I'm probably moving it a little bit too much for you now. But yeah, this is an absolutely stunning knife, and I doff my cap to Leading Edge Knife Works for this. So hopefully through all of my ramblings there, you'll know that I love this knife. Having never owned a custom knife before, this is definitely the company that I am going to purchase my first custom knife. There are some amazing knife creators all around the world, but being able to get my first one through someone that I've accidentally known for a while through the EDC Cooperative, it means a little bit more to me, and having this one to be my first review on the channel here again means a lot to me. And yeah, I just want to send a massive thanks to Ev. It's an absolutely beautiful knife, really is. On the back of that, I suppose this is a bit of a call out to other knife creators. If there are others in the UK or around the world, if you'd like to send me one of your knives, I'm not after a free knife, that's not what this is about. I'd love to showcase your craftsmanship here on my channel. That's not just knife creators. If you're a leather worker, you want to send me something like that, then that would be great as well. I'd really like to show off some of those smaller companies so that I can get more people looking at your wares, and yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. Okay, cool. There are all of the links in below so that you can find Leading Edge Knife Works on Instagram, on Facebook, or wherever you need to find those. If you want to look more into myself, then some links in the bottom as well. Look for me on Instagram. Always forget Instagram, always do. If you're looking on the bloopers of my last few videos, I always forget to mention myself on Instagram. But yeah, look for me on Instagram at Moorlander_EDC. And for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.